Welcome, everybody. This is the Rising Tide LinkedIn Live call on LinkedIn. If you're watching or listening on the digital hospitality feed, we hope you join us on LinkedIn Live. We hope that you email me, Sean at calibbq.media. I will add you to the Google Calendar that we will update regularly so that people can find these links to these rooms every Wednesday, every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. London time, wherever you are in the world. We believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. We are all business creators. We are all living in the creator economy. We all have smartphones in our hands, the greatest tool that's ever been given to a business owner. And we've got some amazing people in this group. We started on Clubhouse, now we're on LinkedIn. Today's topic is going to be, what is your biggest strength and weaknesses at work? Now that I see the title, that is different than the actual heading, which was strengths and weaknesses. So I am learning as the host of the room what the topic of the room is. But we're going to figure this out, I promise you. Number one, I promise, because we'll be consistent. We will be relentlessly consistent. We are curious. We will get involved. We will make mistakes, but we'll get a little bit better every single week. So thank you all for being here. Let's go around the room, introduce ourselves. Who are you? What are you working on? Colleen down below, welcome back. Ash down below. James, thank you for recording. If you guys want to join us on stage, please raise your hand. Please share the room so more people can find us. And if you're listening on the digital hospitality feed, please join us live in person. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear about what you're building and why you're building it and what you believe in. So Gavin, go ahead, kick us off. Take 60 seconds. Who are you and what do you believe? Go for it.
I'm Gavin Kinzel, a podcast producer for Cali BBQ Media, formerly iHeartMedia and Donut Media. Live in Orange County. That's always a question in the intro as well, California. What I believe is finding out what you're really good at and doing everything you can to amplify it. Today I'm working on some digital promotion stuff, social media stuff for our external clients at Cali BBQ. And I'll pass it back to Sean.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. Appreciate it. Elizabeth Doss, take 60 seconds. Go for it. Who are you? What do you believe? And where are you in the world?
Hi, all. I am Elizabeth Doss here. I am currently in Indianapolis, Indiana, normally in Greenville, South Carolina, but we are up here helping friends get prepared for a conference this weekend. We have about 200 people coming to an outdoor event, so we're planning all the food and putting up the tents. But the fall is in full swing here, so the trees are like on fire and it's chilly and beautiful and all the things you want fall to be, or autumn. Richard, like, he was telling me the difference between fall in the United States of us dancing around with pumpkins and cider and all this stuff, and in the UK it's all rain and stuff. But I am a social media nerd. I help out a lot with creating content and scheduling content with clients, but my main gig is creating animated GIFs for businesses to build community, to cover their thought leadership, to have these fun interactions with their community, etc. So I will hand it back to you, Sean.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. Mike, go for it.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, Mike Biseglia. Excited to be in this room. I'm in Middletown, New Jersey, and a producer with Cali BBQ Media, working in the digital hospitality space in the LinkedIn Lives. Working on right now, getting a blog article and some quotes and some great social clips for David Greschler, and really enjoyed listening to his interview. And pulling some really interesting information about inventory and how the world of that is changing. And I like how these episodes have made me think differently about pain points and about pain points in podcasting in particular. So it's opened my mind for stuff, which is cool. So back to you, Sean.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Mike. And thank you for helping us streamline the room process for LinkedIn Live. We're trying to grow this community. We cannot do this alone. We appreciate each of you that are here, everyone that's listening, but we also need new voices up here on stage, and the only way to get new voices is to improve our digital hospitality. So LinkedIn, if you're listening, please help. You've built an amazing platform to copy Clubhouse. We love it. If you help with discoverability, that would be even better. So thank you, LinkedIn, for listening. Stover, go ahead.
Hey everyone, my name is Stover. I'm a proud member of this Cali BBQ Media digital hospitality community, and I'm just so excited to be on the team. Right now, was just in father mode. I took my son to school, didn't realize it was a late start. He's in kindergarten, so I know new parents probably understand. So I didn't know what to do for an hour with my boys, so we had to kill some time. But now I'm settling in, excited to be here and talk about strengths and weaknesses. I feel like I have a lot of both, and I always want to find balance and how to work those together and keep improving the strengths and keep pushing back the weaknesses. And I'm really happy to hear what other people have to say about it, because this is a place that I feel we can be really open with each other. Thank you.
Where in the world are you, Stover?
Portland, Oregon.
Booyah, Portland, Oregon.
West Coast
Dean
representative.
LeBay, Dynamo Dean, the selling machine. Go for it.
Hey, what's going on? My name's Dean LeBay. It's LA, capital BAY. I'm calling you or talking to you from New Orleans. I'm in the restaurant equipment and design business, and basically, I believe in this community, and I just, like the next lady that's going to talk, 80% of it's just showing up, being consistent. Thanks.
Thank you, Dean. Laura Wilbur, consistency. Awesome video. Go for it.
Oh, thank you. Hey, I'm Laura. I live in Encinitas, California, which is in North San Diego County. And I'm in the business of showing up for my restaurant clients and bringing friends. And by friends, I mean expense account diners, and lots of them. We have 21 million corporate card holders at DeNova Corporate Dining, which is where I am Director of Strategic Partnerships. And my job is to help them find great restaurants for dine-in, carry-out, catering, and private events so that the restaurants can build direct relationships with these folks. Back to you.
Amazing. That was a great intro. I don't know what you tweaked, but you did I love hearing how big the network is, and I love that your friends have money. That's awesome.
Thank you. And I have to credit my coach, Richard. Thank you for coaching me.
Brilliant, brilliant, Richard. Another brilliant student following in Richard. I really enjoyed your episode with our friend Christian.
I did too. It was great.
I think I enjoyed the photos of you in your Thai restaurant business. I might have enjoyed those more than the conversation, but both were brilliant, and I learned something. I learned something new. Richard, the mic is yours. Go for it.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Laura. It was fun doing that podcast, and I think there's a little bit where the more you guest on podcasts, the more it strengthens, or as Elizabeth would say, sharpens the saw if you ever want to do your own. I'm Richard. I live 80 miles north of London. I have a mantra of don't be boring, which manifests in coaching, branding, and mentoring. I work with amazing people all over the world, and I'm very, very lucky to do that. And I also work as the cultural ambassador to the digital hospitality community. And Sean, I thought we're going to have a little bit of a break this week from Cockney rhyming slang. And as Elizabeth mentioned, full. Sean, if you came to the UK and you thought, oh, it's going to be a bit chilly, I'm going to wear a shirt, and then you might put something on top of the shirt, what would that item of clothing be called?
A hoodie, always.
No, if it wasn't a hoodie and it was like maybe a bit more like not a hoodie, an alternative hoodie would be a
jacket.
Or would you say a sweater?
No.
Well, I had this conversation with Laura.
Is it a pullover?
No, it's a jumper. You wear a jumper, not a pullover.
No, a jumper. A jumper is worn by a firefighter.
No, a jumper is worn by
a toddler.
Or a toddler. Jumper exactly. is worn by a British person to keep themselves warm in winter. So that is the word of the week, which is
the jumper doesn't have pants?
Oh, no, Sean, we need to work on this before.
This is why Sean's a good interviewer. He has the good questions.
Wait, I'm so confused. How can a jumper not have pants?
Well, no.
Where's the jumping part of the jumper?
A jumper is like a sweater. Like we call them jumpers. Scott, help me out here, please. I feel like there's a cultural void.
It's called a sweater. If it's a jumper, you need legs. You need a legs attachment to it.
You see, Sean, this is why if you go into a department store in London, you're going to be lost without us.
I will be lost. I will. Well, I will definitely not. I won't be in London without Richard or Scott. That's for sure. So you will help me to the jumper aisle so that I can find myself a nice jumper. I appreciate it, Richard. Scott Turner, beautiful new website. If you have not been to Scott Turner's website, please go visit it. It is brilliant. Video storytelling at its best. Scott, go for it.
It's always
Do
not
you
good
do you own how
following.
many jumpers do you own? Let's start there.
I have hoodies, Sean. I have hoodies.
You have
I mean,
hoodies. You don't have any jumpers?
no, I don't have jumpers. No, but you'll notice that Richard said he was 80 miles out of London. In London, we're a bit more cultured. So
Says a Yorkshireman.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, where was I? We had lots of fun doing that video. You'll see some nice cameos from Richard in there as well, and there's more videos to come. We've got a videographer on the team now, and he's probably got 3 months of content from one day of filming, so lots of funny stuff to come up. I am the founder of Auden Hospitality. We are helping hoteliers to rewrite the rules of food and beverage. I was speaking today at the Independent Hotel Show here in London about F&B profitability, and we brought up the report that we've produced with Hotstats, who are a global benchmarking platform. So we've had access to the data of 2,000 hotels across the US and the UK. We've shared what their stats are looking like for the first half of 2024, and then given our solutions to the problem after it. You should be able to download it now. We've sacked the website guy. They're long gone, and we've fixed that. So head over to the website audenhospitality.com and download it. It's a good read. We're going to be going through it in San Antonio in 2 weeks as well, and sharing some of the bits in it with the CEO from Hotstats. So I'm looking forward to that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Scott. Can't wait to see you stateside. Colleen, welcome to the stage. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm in a very long maternity leave I took. So, my name's Colleen Silk. I live in the OC of Maryland, Ocean City, Maryland. And sorry, I have a teething baby bothering me. And I am the host of Hospitality Bites, but I'm currently working on producing my first web series that's actually going to go up for syndication and distribution through the Binge Network, called Beyond the Burnout, kind of a play off of my Burnt Chef ambassador work, and also just the extension of the Hospitality Bites group. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. Then also planning on attending NAFM with the Burnt Chef team from North America in February and getting sponsors for that too.
Awesome. Colleen, welcome. Congratulations. You reminds me of when I first met Troy Hooper on Clubhouse. He too was taking care of his little one on Clubhouse, and I guess that's the magic of audio only rooms, is that you can do multiple things. We're grateful that you're here. Welcome back. And Matt, the mic is yours, my friend. Do you own a jumper, Matt? And being on the East Coast in Philly, and I know Philly gets cold. Do you own a jumper?
I can't say that I own a jumper, but I might have to look into it. Maybe we'll get a Clear Cogs jumpers.
You should look into Clear Cogs jump. Ask Hildy if she can make you Clear Cogs jumpers.
Hildy can make everything.
Brilliant. Go ahead.
Well, look, what do I believe then? I believe that the shift from being reactive in restaurants to being proactive is a massive unlock. And if we can do it, it's not only going to change the economics for the industry, but it's also going to make the lives better for everybody who's working in it. I currently over at Clear Cogs, where that's what we're trying to do, focused on, how do we get the right answers to you ahead of time so that you have the right amount of food in the store, you've got the right amount of food prep, and you've got the right amount of staff, ready to serve your customers.
Brilliant. I love proactive versus reactive. It's not talked about enough. I hope you keep talking about it, Matt. That's awesome. Eric Farrell, go for it. Who are you? What do you believe? And where in the world are you?
Hey guys, I am Eric Farrell, owner of thewordkitchen.com, ghostwriter for the food and beverage hospitality world. I'm calling in from nowhere, Indiana, just northeast of Indianapolis. What do I believe? I believe in meat. I had a great win today. I found lamb shoulder on sale, and I am enjoying a beautiful medium rare piece of meat that deserves a good old-fashioned Ric Flair, woo! And that's what I got going
Wow. I didn't know you had that in you. That's brilliant. Go for
on.
it. Get it, Eric. I love it.
He's,
Jordan
he's
Silverman.
Sean, he's talking like a barbecue hunk.
He looks like he stole your handle, barbecue hunk handle.
Oh, whoa, that went too far.
No,
I know,
you
for
don't
everyone,
follow.
you can follow
You
at
obviously
BBQ Hunk on social media to get the best barbecue content.
that's Stover's Instagram handle for those that don't know.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Well,
and TikTok, I think.
I'm in the don't know camp, I guess. I hope that wasn't too loud. I took the mic away, but I'm just in a goofy mood today, so you guys got to deal with it. Sorry.
You're all good. Goofy is totally acceptable here. Jordan Silverman, go for it. Who are you? What do you believe? Where in the world are you?
Hey everyone, Jordan, CEO and co-founder of Starfish. I just had a lunch at a client with my co-founder. We try to do weekly lunches, which is always nice. And then I had to make like an 8-year-old a run to CVS to get some candy because my daughter decided not to sleep last night and I don't drink coffee. So get my sugar rush in. I run Starfish. We help restaurants and their bookkeepers automate their data and P&L analysis, automatically finding errors, end-of-month summaries, and showing them proactively how to lower costs and increase revenue.
Brilliant. What's your go-to candy at CVS?
I'm a Red Vines guy. I know it's a hot take, but Red Vines are my go-to usually, but I'm never going to complain with any gummy over sour. Gummy, then sour, then chocolate.
Gummy, sour, then chocolate. Good to know. Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Mercedes, go for it. Who are you? What do you believe?
Mercedes coming at you from cloudy San Diego. I'm the director of sales and events for the Wood Group. And
Mercedes, your audio's a little bit off. Can you hear me?
I tried new.
There we go. Oh.
Try again.
Hold on. Let's see.
Can you hear me this time?
Yes. Better.
Okay, cool. So Mercedes from cloudy San Diego. Because it's not sunny today. Director of Sales and Events for the Wood Group and VP of Education and Programs for HSMAI San Diego chapter. I believe in networking outside of your four walls. So that's where I'm at today.
Awesome. Thank you, Mercedes. Mike LaRue in the house. Mike, 60 seconds. Who are you? What do you believe? And where in the world are you?
What's up, guys? Mike LaRue, Vice President of Franchise Development and now franchisee of Angry Chicks. Calling in from Sherman Oaks, California. What do I believe? I believe that in the midst of absolute chaos, it always could be worse. Always could be worse. So, love perspective. Cheers.
Cheers. I like the dramatic pause. You're absolutely right. I'm a big fan of dramatic pause. It is a strategic thing to do if you're appearing on podcasts, you're giving speeches. Can you slow down and pause?
They taught us that in journalism school, Sean. Like, you have to actually, when you're having conversations, learn how to stop, which is really hard for me and a lot of people. But as a journalist, I would just sit there and stare at people until they said something good.
It is definitely, we'll go ahead and start with the dramatic pause. It is definitely a weakness of mine and something that I have worked on, tried to be better at, especially as a podcast host and appearing on podcasts and giving speeches. How do you slow down and talk about the most important thing that you want to highlight when you're speaking? I guess biggest strengths, biggest weaknesses at work. As you all know, my grandfather, he taught me, stay curious, get involved, ask for help. That pretty much sums up some of my biggest strengths at work and some of my biggest weaknesses. Biggest strength is relentless curiosity. I am, thanks to my grandfather, willing to ask questions about anything and everything. I remember being in college and traveling with my grandfather, working to write his life story and seeing him continually asking questions of everyone, experts, tour guides, cab drivers, bellhops, anyone and everyone, anyone that had information, and sometimes the most valuable information came from people that you least expected. So my grandfather valued education. He cared about reading books. He cared about people that had extreme knowledge, but he also cared about asking questions of everyone around him. And I think that relentless curiosity allows me to realize that there's so many things that you can learn if you ask the right questions. If you're willing to ask the right questions, one of the reasons I love podcasting and doing a quantity of shows is that it forces me structurally to continually to have guests that I find on interesting so that I can ask them questions. I can do my own digital research to find out nuggets of information that they might have said in an interview or they might have said in a show or said in an interview that they've done, something that I want to pull the thread on and learn more about. Curiosity. Number two would be getting involved. I have no problem getting involved, looking stupid, sounding stupid. I did in the beginning, but I think that's part of what we do at Cali Barbecue Media is trying to get over fear. The only way to do that is doing a quantity of reps, audio, video, words, images. I really value speed. So if you don't do things at speed, the fear tends to set in and you don't hit publish. If things live in the cloud, if they're not published, then you can't learn from them. You don't get the data that you need to actually move forward. And then finally, I guess the biggest weakness is asking for help. I mean, part of the reason why I share stay curious, get involved, ask for help all the time is that asking for help is probably still to this day my biggest weakness. Knowing that there's experts out there, there's somebody that's been there before, that's done the thing that we're trying to do. And if I just slow down, if I take a dramatic pause and go, is there somebody that I might know or someone that I know who might know somebody that can help me solve this problem that we're trying to solve? Because there's always problems every single day. There's some problem issue that we're trying to solve. And instead of just going to ChatGPT or just going to Google or going to YouTube, maybe I can actually reach out to somebody and ask them a specific question that will get me the answer that will solve my problem. Compressing time. So much of what we do and the value that we try to bring not only to this community, but in all the content that we do is we don't want people to make the same mistakes that we did. It took us a long time to build a profitable media company and to get brand deals and to get people to actually want to work with us and to pay to work with us. We want other people to have that same opportunity. And we've never had a greater opportunity. And we believe that we're just in the first inning. We don't even believe, if you're listening to this, the business creator economy, we're nowhere near where we're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So we're really excited to be on this journey and we can't wait to hear your strengths, your weaknesses. Gavin, passing the mic off to you. Go for it.
Yeah, that was great. I definitely agree with a lot of that. And specifically working in the media industry and even more specific, the audio industry, it's changed so much over the past decade plus. I think my biggest strength is my versatility and resourcefulness, being able to creatively solve a problem as they come up, especially as the industry is changing. Um, whether that is producing 3-hour daily sports radio programs during a pandemic when there's no sports on. You got to be creative. You got to find new ways to deliver content that's engaging, but is also going to still serve your audience. And I think another great example of me being resourceful in the past that helped the where I helped develop that was working with former professional athletes that had never been broadcasters before, but they were tasked with doing a radio show and coaching them basically. When you're in the NFL, you're coached by your PR team to stay very neutral and not make any outlandish comments or anything that could mess with your future contract or playing time or anything like that. So working in a media industry where it's a hot take culture and engagement is everything, getting them out of that box and being able to share their true opinion and in a way that is palatable for the audience, but also it's gonna work. And the industry is so different than it used to be when I started in radio, and then go to now in digital media and everything. You always have to be able to pivot, and I think that's my biggest strength. Weaknesses, and I think we're all going to try to not make this sound like a job interview. I love that was on the content of the meeting. But I think for me, it's staying too close to a routine. I think a lot of us do this, but things like to-do lists or laying things out in front of you, it helps me a lot. I do it every morning to know what needs to get done, what are the priorities. But as much as I've tried, there's only 24 hours in a day that I can't get it to 25. So sometimes you have to pivot in a production process, and where there is room for delegation or asking for help, to save you time and make the process more efficient. Kind of what Sean was saying. I think that's definitely an area that I can improve on more. So back to you, Sean.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. Appreciate it. Elizabeth Doss, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses at work?
Yes. I'll start with weaknesses. I'll go in reverse a little bit. I am horrible at talking money. Like pricing and that side of things, I just get so squirmy because in my life I love to just give stuff away. And so if I could figure out a way to just do that, that would be amazing. But you do have to eat, you do have to pay the bills, even though we've tried to eliminate as many of those as we can in our world. But that's probably a big one for me. Another one is getting emotional when I'm overwhelmed. And because that just like compounds on top of things if I'm overwhelmed, and then I add to it. And then finally, learning the atmosphere that understanding that certain atmospheres I cannot get into flow state to be able to create. I'm learning I do better working in public. So going like to a coffee shop or something, because there's something about body doubling, where you can, these strangers in the room keep me on task, where I can't sit in an office by myself. I end up staring out the window or twirling my hair, or like just I'm somewhere else. But out in public, it's like they have no dog in the fight, but these people are making me feel like, oh, I should really be doing work right now. So, but my successes in my business, because I'm doing animations, I'm doing illustrations, I'm doing motion graphic designs. This part of that world, my imagination, I think, is one of my greatest strengths. This is something Richard and I have talked about, is that I'm not just filling out a template for some of this. I'm really trying to get inside of people's brands, the way they speak about themselves, the way their community speaks about them. Are they wanting to show up luxury? Are they wanting to show up a little bit gritty and raw? And that can come through in animations, but also thinking a little bit deeper about how can I highlight these things that, like the stories that you're telling, the things you want to be known for, the way that you want to show up. And so the thought behind it, that mashup of the brand that you've chosen, whether colors, fonts, etc., your tone of voice, and how you want to come across. And we throw all those things together in these animations so that when people, even before they read the content, when they see it, they already know it's you. It's you entering the room before you even say a word. So I would say my imagination, creativity side on that. I love doing the brainstorming, ideation side of stuff. Anyway, I hand it back to you.
Elizabeth, you missed one word off your strengths.
Uh-oh.
Joy. Just remember, one of your biggest strengths is joy. Joy in your work, the joy you bring to other people. Like, you have to use that word more and more and more, because you bring joy to so many people. That's what you bring to your clients, and you bring to this community, and you bring to the other communities that you're within. Joy is one of your biggest strengths.
Cheers
You're
to
right.
that. You bring joy to this community. That's without a doubt. We appreciate you. Michael, strengths, weaknesses at work.
Thank you, Sean. And what you had alluded to when you started the conversation just kind of jogged a memory for me when you were talking about your grandfather and asking questions. Something when I'm in public or meeting somebody for the first time, I've actually in my brain pretended sometimes on a podcast, because sometimes for me, I feel more comfortable on a podcast than like meeting somebody for the first time. And I would use that tool of like, all right, let me pretend I'm interviewing them for said show. And it helps me think of questions, like I'm doing a podcast. We got to be thinking of that next question, and really listening is something that I've used for myself. So I'll kind of segue that into kind of a mini strength with that. And then also just being prolific. I really enjoy just keeping things moving and working. I need it. It's something for me that really motivates me and pushes me. I like to work on off hours. Kind of at night, I make some tea, put on something in the background, and just get to work. And I've always just had this innate ability to just keep going with stuff. It was funny, like when I was at school, I didn't feel as much motivation on that front. I was like, I just got to get this paper done, or I just want to get this done. But with work, I've always just had this ability to be prolific and just keep moving and working. I don't something about me inside has always pushed forward with that. And weaknesses, Elizabeth, you alluded to. I didn't think of it, but you said it. And same thing for me with like dollar and cents and conversations at that can get me a little squirmy, and I've felt that. And then another one for me is sometimes not as in the workplace, like taking accolades well. Sometimes so it's, hey, good job, Mike. And it's hard for me to accept it sometimes. I think I'm always thinking of the next thing. And I can't enjoy the moment of, okay, you did a good job. Just take it. It's okay. It's something I just desperately want to get better at. So back to you, Sean.
That's great. Yeah, and for those that are creators or that have their own businesses, learning how to speak about money is not easy. It wasn't easy for us, especially the B2C side. It's a lot different when you're a restaurant owner. Like you create a menu and you hope that people buy the thing. But when you're doing something like we do with Cali Barbecue Media, establishing a price and talking about a price, it is difficult in the beginning. A couple of the people that I've listened to is Chris Doe. For those that don't follow Chris Doe at the Future, he does a lot with creatives talking about money, pricing, anchoring, getting over your fear of talking about money. So that's a great resource. And also Alex Hermosi, he does a great job as well talking about pricing and strategy. So hopefully those are helpful to the community. Stover, what's your greatest strengths or your biggest strength and your biggest weakness at work?
I used to love, I still love going to work. Number one, it fulfills me when I have a job that isn't a job. That's something that I would do if I wasn't getting paid, although we all need to get money. That's just the reality. But what I've always tried to find ever since I could and had the means to do it was a job where I could set my own job. And I never liked the titles I got. Whenever I started a job, I would make a new title in my head before my bosses ever knew it. And then I would do the job that was for that title. And then it would just become my job. And then I would hang around for a while until I got burnt out or just culture changed. I'd have to move on. And most of my career up until the last 10 years was in journalism. And I really thrived there in those environments, in an office surrounded by not just peers, but mentors, in an environment that was always moving and always going from one important task to another that were done very quickly by people who didn't even need to say what they were working on because it was understood. And what I thrived in was these systems that had been going for 100 years before I joined. The systems that I spent a lot of time in college studying and listening to my advisor to follow. And what happened to me after I left newspapers is those systems tanked. There weren't any in my life anymore. And I had to learn how to do podcasting. But most importantly, I had to learn how to work without someone handing me a thing of what needs to be done. And then going from there, which is what sort of how it was at a newspaper. You had a paper to fill, what needed to be done because you took someone else's job. But what we've done in the last few years is we're writing playbooks in a lot of ways at Cali BBQ Media. And it's become a lot more difficult for me, and I've worked on this, to create systems that don't exist so other people can understand them. Because for me, a lot of it, I would just go as a reporter in my head. And I would do a really good job, but only I knew what I was doing. I didn't have to explain myself to other people. And what I really need to do, and a weakness, is I need to be able to unload my head and explain my processes and ways I've learned how to do things to create systems that other people can then jump into and learn. So we can have a business that runs for 100 years. And in 100 years from now, people will jump in and they'll learn the ways that we started doing it now and start to improve on it. And what I really want to do is that. I want to take all the stuff that I was so happy I learned from journalism and figure out how to unload it, download it, and write a book or something that people will one day open and learn from. And really, it just means being able to communicate more about work and be a part of a team, which what we have now is amazing. And I'm feeling really fired up. So thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Stover. Troy Hooper, number one question is how many jumpers do you own?
How many jumpers? What's a jumper?
Richard?
This is the number one question, Troy.
A jumper is what we would refer to as a sweater or knitwear.
It's like a onesie, like a Borat. You remember Borat?
Probably 10 or 12 of them, at least. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. What is your
what do you want from me?
Now I want to know what your biggest strength is and what your biggest weakness is at work.
Biggest weakness is saying yes to the detriment of my productivity. I do not protect my time enough. And I don't mean that in the egocentric, I'm too good, I can't be available to anybody. I mean, I say yes to expenditures of my time on the speculation that they may have value to others and could potentially ultimately have value to me. But, saying we're weirdly available is one thing. Calling me for a quick 10 or 15 minute thing is not a problem. I'm saying yes to every Tom, Dick, and Harry vendor in the world that wants to sell me something, and I don't know why I do that. But anyway, so that's my weakness. My weakness is not protecting the time blocks that I have, because I have them, and then I don't protect them, and I'm trying to get a lot better at that. Strengths at work. Empathy. I mean, hopefully everybody feels it. Hopefully people know that how I present myself, how I interact with them, how I come to them, how I hold them accountable. I try to do that with empathy. I think it comes across as potentially weakness, or it comes across as being Mr. Nice Guy. So it's a little uncomfortable when I've got to get candid, but I'm getting a lot better at that. So, hopefully my strength, as far as I view it, or I try to focus on it, is entering any conversation, any room, any meeting, any circumstance with empathy of what the other person's position in that conversation or situation is.
Brilliant. I appreciate the candor, Troy Hooper, as always. Jason, somebody off? Laura, are you off mic or off mute? Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I was.
No problem. Jason Berkowitz, welcome to the room. Welcome to the stage. What is your biggest strength and your biggest weakness at work?
I would say strength would be depending on vision, right? Having a vision for something and seeing it and communicating it and making sure that everybody understands what their role is to execute it and realize it, giving them measurables and then tracking it. I love it. I love that side of it. Weakness would probably be currently I'm, selling software or solutions to restaurants that I'm a terrible salesman for, because I still struggle as identifying as a restaurant operator, selling to restaurants. And so I heard talking about pricing models and understanding the value of it. I'm still working through that. I have it on a baseline selling individual courses, but as we grow into a subscription model, still testing it. What I've done, though, is two things. One is I put somebody into a sales position to help drive that. It took a little while, but we got that. And secondly, I think back to the vision is, as we've all talked about here, is figuring out then, if I don't like to sell to restaurants directly, how can those who benefit from restaurants pick up the tab of what I'm doing and use this as a value add to restaurants. Therefore, these partnerships where companies will, as a sponsorship model, sponsor the training on the front end, as well as insurance companies who benefit on the back end, pick up the delta. So I'm turning my weakness of not being able to sell into a strength of being able to see something that I think will make me much more happier and bigger in the long term. But I do have to sell in the meantime. There you go.
Awesome.
And
How many jumpers do you own?
Well, you said sweaters, I heard Richard say, or whatnot. And in that sense, my hands were getting into season. Probably 6, but I rotate 4 regularly. But if you have full jumpsuits you talked about, neither. But I got to tell you, everybody, cashmere top, cashmere bottom, it's fantastic. And they are affordable these days. You want to blow yourself away this winter? Cashmere top, cashmere bottom. Don't worry about the
Wow.
socks. Socks don't work. And you don't got to spend a lot of money. I'm telling you, go to the Don or these places.
See,
Couple $100.
if you knit them together, that would be a jumper, in my opinion.
Get it? Yeah.
You gotta knit them together to make a jumper. But
Jumpsuit.
Jumper, jumpsuit, they're the same.
But just for everybody's knowledge, the reason it's bing bong banging in the background, Jason's at the gym. And Jason, if I could encourage you, please do a little bit more work on those skinny legs. You need to bulk up those legs, baby, okay? Get those toothpicks built up.
2 things. One is I'm at the gym. They say no, so I apologize in the background noise. I'm bulking up these legs. And I've said it before, Mercedes, I think you and I both, because I know you're always in a pretty loud place because you're around restaurants and activity, cannot wait for Apple's update, which will do noise canceling on both sides. So that will come soon, and I will be the first to tell everybody.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy the workout and work out the legs for Troy. Thank you. Dean LeBay, what's your greatest strength at work? What's your greatest weakness at work?
Probably my greatest strength is curiosity. I try to find the aha moments and the potato theory moments, if you will, when I'm talking with one of my clients. And probably my biggest weakness is fear of rejection, fear of, I'm a little bit older than most, and the fear of asking a question that I should know about technology and that I don't know, and looking, looking dummy. And that's probably my biggest weakness. But I ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions that people I should know the answer to, but I ask them anyway because I want to make sure I got the answer right. That's about it.
No, Dean, I would have to say your fear of technology is not a fear because you practice what you preach, and if anyone knows Dean, he's on all the platforms. He's learning. He's asking questions, and you're so far ahead of so many that are of your age. And we're proud to have you in this group, Dean. So thank you for always bringing the wisdom. We appreciate it. Laura Wilbur, greatest weakness, greatest strength.
All right, I'll start with my greatest weaknesses, 2 of them. And Troy, I'm every Tom, Dick, and Harry vendor that's wanting your time. So part of a weakness in my work is thinking that before I reach out, right? Thinking this operator is probably busy with more important things than talking with me about guest acquisition today. So for those of us in sales, that can prevent us from talking to enough people sometimes that we really could help. The other weakness that I struggle with is same thing that Elizabeth said, as far as making myself sit down and get into that flow. And I find that airplanes, especially long flights, are my absolute most productive zone because I'm literally trapped sitting down. And as long as there's Wi-Fi, the output of, paperwork that I can get done on a plane is absolutely better than any place else. Then on the pro side, I would say I feel really fortunate to have a genuine love of people and a fearlessness in pursuit of getting to know them and help them.
That's fantastic. We appreciate that, Laura. It reminds me, I wish I knew the author, but some author shared, like very famous author, but they spent tens of thousands of dollars on plane flights because it was the only place that they could write. And like literally, they would never have gotten their book done if they hadn't gone on multiple transcontinental flights because it forced them to sit in their seat and write.
It works.
Awesome. Thank you. Richard Liverman, greatest weakness, greatest strength at work.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Greatest weakness is I have ADHD, and one of my weaknesses is attention to detail. It's one of the consequences for me. Everybody's manifestations can be different, but my attention to detail I sometimes struggle with. I also find certain things to be very, very trivial, and I find it hard to do. And I think what it is when you have that kind of self-understanding of your strengths and weaknesses, part of it is how do you mitigate the weaknesses? So I talk about this with my coach. How do I mitigate my weaknesses and supersize my strengths? And I know that I sometimes struggle with attention to detail. So I have an amazing VA who helps me with stuff like that. And I think for everybody, when they're talking about their weaknesses, how do you mitigate them? And I just think it's a nice thought for people to have. Strengths. This is this is a funny one. I don't particularly like talking about my strengths, which is probably a weakness. But I also was thinking about this. I did a post earlier on in the week. How can you discover your strengths? And there's a survey you can do. I've done it with Elizabeth, I've done it with Laura, and some of the strengths that come out for me are creativity and gratitude. And they're things that I really enjoy. And I think there's that bit where how do you get in your zone of genius and how do you supersize those strengths? And one of the strengths of having an ADHD mind is that we're very good at doing big picture and strategic stuff. And so for me, my ADHD is my strength at work, but it can also be my weakness. So I think to myself, supersize the strength, mitigate the weakness.
Love that. Supersizing the strength and mitigating the weakness, leaning into the strengths for sure. Scott Turner, what's your biggest weakness? What's your biggest strength at work?
Do you know, it reminds me of this subject reminds me of a topic we used to do every week in the restaurant company that I worked for before I set my own business. And we did a thing called Quality Circle every week. And we sat with the team and they all had to say one positive and one improvement of the week that week. And this reminds me, every time someone's saying weakness, I think it's just there's an area for improvement. So I'm going to flip the language into being a little more positive on that one. I think my improvement, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and achieve things too quick sometimes, and that leads into one of my strengths, which is I'm pretty driven. Not many things can knock me off course. Not many things can knock me in. It's something that's served me quite well through my career, but that can sometimes turn into a bit of a frustration if things don't happen as quick as I want. I think Richard's just talked about not being detail driven. He'll probably know from working with me over the last few months that I am incredibly detail driven. It was knocked into me in working in luxury hotels. So I focus on the details and sometimes find it hard to step back and look at the bigger picture or to devote enough time to work on my business rather than looking at the details on it. I hate going live with things until they're right. I know you've talked a lot, Sean, about just get it out there and evolve. That's a really hard thing for me to do. So I've done a few of those cringeworthy moments. We've talked about them before, but it's something to do more of. But yeah, details is something close to my heart.
That's
Scott,
great. Yeah. Go
just
ahead, Rick.
quickly want to add, Sean, everybody needs to go onto Scott's website and go and have a look at his About Us, because that's when detail and big picture comes together. And what Scott's done with his About Us is there's so many businesses that have boring About Us. Scott's knocked it out of the park.
It is absolutely brilliant. Couldn't agree more. And Scott, what you were talking about, changing the language, reminded me, I think it was Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx. She talked about what her father used to do every week. They would come to the dinner table and they would talk about how did they fall? Like, where did you fall? And they celebrated failure, of talking about and normalizing failure as in it was a good thing that they tried something and then they learned from it and moved on. So great stuff, Scott. Matt, my man, what's your biggest weakness at work? And what's your biggest strength?
Yeah, they're kind of exactly the same. I love thinking outside the box, which is great.
Don't put Matt in a box.
Yeah, don't put me in a box. So, like, you got to come up with a new creative solution to solve some problem. I am great at that. The downside is most of our lives, 80% of the stuff we do is very much inside the box. And if you spend all your time thinking about how to do it outside of the box, you're really inefficient with your time. So it's always, for me, understanding and prioritizing like, no, this is just execute the way you always have. You don't need to reinvent the wheel versus the times when it makes sense to think outside the box.
That's great. What would Osa say? What's your greatest weakness?
The fact that I'm here and in this meeting, that's what he would say. and not executing on some things that I need to get done.
Well, we love the fact that you're here, and we're grateful that you're here, and we love Osa too.
And this is way more fun.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of putting you in a box by having you come here on stage and share your a little bit. Yeah, we're normalizing it. Awesome. Mike LaRue, biggest strength, biggest weakness at work.
Man, I've been wrapping my head around this. Biggest strength. I've a biggest weakness and strength is I'm very self-critical, and so when it comes down to strengths, has always been something that I've kind of struggled with. But I would say I like to think I have a unique ability to see things from a 30,000 foot level, specifically in, let's say, franchising, and having an understanding of what it should look like. And I guess when I say what a successful brand should look like, and the pieces of the puzzle that need to be in place for all of that to happen. I feel like that has kind of helped me, I guess, get to the point where I'm at, today. And in addition to that, I definitely know Troy. When it comes to empathy, Troy is by far, I don't know, the best that I know at that. But I feel like I've had a lot of experience in understanding what franchisees go through, and so being able to understand and empathize the franchisee perspective has allowed me to look at things differently when it comes down to, call it, franchise development and developing a brand. As far as weaknesses, one for sure is self-care. Like, I don't, when it comes down to like making time for myself and working out, or I do give myself some quiet time and stuff like that, but I don't give myself enough of that. And then on top of that, I have a very difficult time in prioritizing. And it's kind of not, it's like a double negative, but prioritizing commitments. Between being a good husband, a good dad, being there for my kids, putting God first, family second, and then career. I have a difficult time on balancing that, and not to say that balance is even an achievable thing. I think it's everything should kind of blend in together. But when it comes down to the amount of commitments that I have in a 24-hour period, being able to get everything done, I know is not necessarily feasible, but doing so in a manner that honors my commitments and the relationships. It's a daily battle.
Mike, I'll jump in and remind you that you're in a season of life that is really, really intense with small children, and it's going to get so much easier. So just give yourself
That's what
grace.
I keep hearing.
Right, it
Never
really
been hard.
does.
I have small kids. It's never been harder. I mean, I can back that up.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
not you. It's this beautiful commitment that you've, made to your family, and it's going to pull you in two directions all the time. So, just being intentional to, like you said, carve out some time for family and shut out the noise on all the other stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Great share, Mike. Eric Farrell, go for it.
Wow. I relate to so many of these stories. I haven't been able to decide exactly what I'm going to say about myself. I don't like talking about myself. I try to avoid it. Strengths. Yeah, this does feel like a job interview question. That's all right. I think I'm really good at solving a problem if I'm not given any sort of structure and rules. If I'm just given, hey, this is a problem, figure out a way to fix it, I can knock that out of the park. And my corporate job, that was most of what I did. They would plop something on my desk and say, figure this out, and then tell everybody how to do it. And I was pretty good at that. But everything falls apart when I feel like there are certain specific ways you must do things, and if you don't, it will fail. And then I get lost in the weeds, and I get analysis paralysis trying to figure out, well, I can't do this until I know the exact perfect way to do it, and I can't launch it until I know it's perfect because I have no margin for error. And so then we get to my weakness, I guess, would be being too critical of myself and following the rules at the wrong time. I get in my own way. That's the problem. And I can't seem to stop that. And I've had some good coaching conversations with several of the people on this call, and I'm very grateful for that. And you guys are kicking the cobwebs out of my head so that I can focus on what's important, doing the right thing at the right time, and stop being so afraid of failure and just do a thing and see what happens. I don't know why I can do that so well in so many other areas, but I can't on a handful of really specific things that are really important, and I need to do that. And I need to take that strength of being able to creatively solve a problem really well and apply that in more areas of my life, and stop thinking there are so many rules where there really aren't, and just go handle something. I don't know.
No rules. Go for it, Eric. Awesome. Great share. Colleen, are you able to share?
Yes. Baby's in his walker, so I got like a second talk. It's funny. Had you asked this question a year ago, I would have given the opposite answer. So I would say my strength is actually having no fear this past year. Is I will never say it can't get worse, because it's just every time I said that, something happened. And when it came to things falling apart around me, it actually helped build me up to a more clear vision of what I want to accomplish in my professional career. And when I used to run restaurants, I'd always be afraid of screwing up and getting, reamed out by the chef or the owner, whoever it was. And back then I would say empathy was my greatest strength. But now I realize empathy is kind of my weakness, because it was mistaken for weakness, actually. And they would use me to, oh, she's so empathetic, let's have her address this, that, or the other thing. And I've really worked on not letting my empathy be what defines me. It's a great part of me, but it's not the whole part of me. And it's not how I want to necessarily be seen as. I want to be seen as someone that has feelings and emotions, but also can get the job done to the best of my ability. And that's what that living and working without fear, because I used to be afraid of the answer no also. And I'm not afraid of being told no. It's actually helped push me different directions and meet new people. If that door didn't open, then I'll go to the next one. And so a year ago, I would have said empathy is my biggest strength and I'm afraid of failing. Now it's the complete opposite. And I want to touch on what Laura said about this time of young kids in your life and your professional work. It's so hard. And I used to be embarrassed that there would be a baby or child running the background. but it makes me a stronger parent because I work harder for them. And I know that it's just kind of building me up for those tough moments when the 4-year-old has a meltdown. It's kind of like a corporate guy having a meltdown. So if I can handle a terrorizing toddler, I can handle just about anything.
Well, that's amazing, Colleen. And yes, please, more power to you. My kids are a little bit older. I've got the 7 and the 5-year-old, but they've been involved in the barbecue business, the media business, the travel business, the event business, and it's made me a better person because of it. And I love to see other parents that are navigating having small ones in their work.
And if you were here between September of 22 and
I already talked
November
about
of 23,
that's how we met.
There'd be another avatar on this screen named Austin Hooper because he was part of these calls as often as I was. Hey guys, I got to run. One love. I'll see you Friday.
Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it. Mercedes, go for it.
You guys want me to be honest with you? My weakness is definitely balancing work and life. Like, I work from home and everybody thinks, oh, it must be so great. You're around your kids a lot. And my boss knows that I don't have sitters and stuff, hence why I work from home because I can't afford sitters. But I am so bad at balancing work and home life in a sense that I work too much. Like last night at 11 p.m., a client called me and I took a 20-minute client call at 11 o'clock at night while I'm putting my kids to sleep and stuff. So that is definitely my weakness. I'm trying to work on it. It's really hard. I kind of bury myself in my work because I'm so passionate about hospitality, and it's hard. It's gotten me taken advantage of for a long time when I worked with different companies. So my strength is organization, digitally and in person. With events, you have to be super organized, and I am like the queen of organization. Like we're doing this, what's it called? Renovating a huge space. It's like 1,000-seat venue. And I've created spreadsheets for everything we've sourced, and then they have spreadsheets that go into those spreadsheets that like can all be seen on your mobile phone. So I'm like really good at like organizing things to be read in a really fast-paced environment on a cell phone. But like I'm really good at that because I've had to. But I actually think it's like a superpower now, and I'm really excited to see what I do with it next. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for the candor, Mercedes. We appreciate it. I'm grateful that you're here. Great topic, great room today. Let's go around tip, takeaway, homework assignment. Gavin, go for it.
Just want to say I really appreciate this call today. I mean, there's been some awesome discussions, especially with an 11-month-old. Like the discussion on being a new parent and balancing that is really, really helpful. I think I know my homework assignment is going to be to take a few minutes each night this next week and think about what I did today that held me back from whatever it is, the weakness I talked about or achieving what I want, and then commit in that moment to make that change tomorrow to better that. I think doing that every day for the next week, I'll make progress.
That's awesome. Thank you, Gavin. Elizabeth, tip, takeaway, homework assignment.
Yeah, it's a little bit like what Gavin was saying when Scott was talking about improvements, rather than thinking of them as weaknesses and just leaving them there. Maybe thinking more about how can I strengthen those things so I can find new weaknesses about myself. Back to you, Sean.
That's awesome. Yes, there will always be weaknesses. It's what are we working on and what are we refining? Michael, tip, takeaway, homework assignment.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to everybody for just being vulnerable. It's like really refreshing and to hear people strengths and weaknesses and ways to improve where you can just say like, oh, I feel that. I know that. I think sometimes I know for myself, just getting our own kind of island where you think you're alone with stuff, but hearing people talk about all this similarities of something that I'm going through in different ways has been really, really refreshing. And thinking about future topics about having young kids and that work balance with that. something I just jotted down as well. So thank you to everybody for that. And then also a note, if there's a topic you have that you want shared or you want to host, please send me a DM in LinkedIn and we can get you scheduled.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And topic for next, what day is it? It's Wednesday, Friday. It's Friday's topic.
Yes. So which business or work podcast do you love and why? So anything
Okay.
related to your field. Would
Perfect.
love to hear people share them.
New content. Bring your content. Stover, takeaway homework assignment.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, how can we all take our understanding now of our strengths and weaknesses and use our strengths to help our weaknesses, finding balance in our lives? Because I think that's what we've been presented with as humans, is we've been presented with these inherent traits that we've identified in ourselves now as adults. And those have a series of strengths and weaknesses. But the idea is finding balance in that. Just a quick little story I remember on the Howard Stern show, which I love. Robin Quivers was given a test by the Dr. Drew, the celebrity guy. And she scored a 34 on a narcissism test, the highest score that this guy had ever given out to any celebrity or anyone. And she was really upset that he brought this up. And he said, I don't see this as a bad thing for you, because your narcissism, while pronounced, is balanced by all these other traits in your life. Inherently, you want to find these things that you're good at to subdue those weaknesses. So that's what I'm going to work on personally at work.
That was a great story. Thank you. Jason Berkowitz from the gym.
Out of the gym, from the car. So I'd like to offer up this idea of sometimes instead of trying to improve the weakness, is figuring out where we can offload the weakness for somebody else to do it. And that's what I'm talking about with me and getting sales and different things. And sometimes it's about resources. But a simple way to at least begin this is to make a list of your daily items. Create two columns. One is what gives me energy. The second column is what takes energy away from me. The things that give you energy are the things you probably are your strengths and you want to keep them on. I would assume it looks that most of the things that take energy away from you, the weaknesses would fall into that category. And then can you, through VAs and listen, through Upwork and Fiverr and all this stuff, there's a lot of help out there, and that will free you up to do the things that give you energy. And so maybe look to counterbalance that stuff off instead of necessarily think you need to go against your grain. Just another way to approach it.
I love that repositioning. I'm all in. I'm all in on that. I've got
Amen.
plenty of weaknesses, which is why I'm building out a team to help.
Yes, you're exactly
Yeah.
at that point, and which is an
Team building
exciting
time.
point for you and for them.
Yes. We're very excited. Thank you, Jason. Great perspective. Dean LeBay. Take away homework assignment.
Oh, I'm not sure what category this falls in, but first of all, I want to say thanks for calling. I'm glad to see you back, and I'm glad to congratulations on the children. A couple of things I heard. Things can get worse. Trust me, no matter what stage in life you're at, it can always get worse. Another thing, you're going to fail. It's not failure. It's a learning experience. It's about getting back up. Do not give up. No matter what you're doing, just don't give up. You can't lose if you don't give up. And mostly, it's about community. When one of us is in a spot, that's what makes this great. It's about a rising tide. We lift each other up. So I'm glad to be a part of this group. Next week, let's figure this thing out on LinkedIn. Let's get some more people in here and let's get some more opinions. Thanks.
Thank you, Dean LeBay. We appreciate you. Laura Wilbur, go for it.
Jason, I think that would make a great topic for a future room, which would be, resources to delegate to, virtual assistants. What do you use? How do we help each other delegate the things that we're not great at? And Dean, I know it could always get worse, but it can always get better too. So I encourage everybody to focus on the good, focus on what you want, instead of giving any energy to what you don't want. And Colleen, so nice to meet you here. The sound of the baby at the opening of your introduction was so precious and beautiful. And just congratulations. And, I love that this room is a place where it's a lot of entrepreneurial minded people who have the luxury of working with and for people that that it's okay to be a mom, be a dad, have your kid with you at any time of the day. And if you're working in an environment where that's not okay and you feel like you have to hide your family, it's probably time to make a change.
That was beautiful, Laura. Thank you. Absolutely amazing. Richard.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant topic. The exercise that Jason was talking about, I do something very, very similar with clients. I call it the hot air balloon exercise. And what Jason was saying is things that lift you, your zone of genius, how can you do more of it? The things that deplete you and drag you down, they're like the sandbags on the hot air balloon. How can you mitigate them or give them to other people? So Jason, I'm sending you a picture of a hot air balloon to help you do that. The idea of understanding your strengths and weaknesses. I did a post about this on Monday, and on there is a link, and I've just sent it to Colleen. I know Laura and Elizabeth have done this. Every human has 24 strengths. Every human, no matter where they are on the planet, they're the same 24 strengths. We under and overuse them. If you go on my post on Monday, you can have a look at the link and do the exercise. The more you understand yourself, the more you can supersize the strengths, mitigate the weaknesses. See you on Friday.
Brilliant. Hot air balloon. I love the hot air balloon analogy. Matt,
I'm going back to Stover's thing. I need to use my strength of thinking outside the box to help me come up with a way to stay inside the box.
Good. That's great. Good stuff.
That is after a 4-foot bong comment that I would have heard in college. I'm just saying, Womp.
Is that Kafka-esque? It sounds like Kafka.
Anytime I get to go think outside the box, I'm happy about it. As long as I don't have to do the inside.
If there's a smoking session with Jason Berkowitz and Matt, I would love to see video of that. That would be great. Awesome. Eric, take away homework assignment.
How do you follow that?
I don't know. Go for it.
Don't get in your own way and figure out what's holding you back and stop it. Just stop it.
There it is. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Colleen, take away homework assignment.
Sorry. I'm just going to kind of continue what I've been working on for the last few months, and that's just prioritizing myself and doing what I can accomplish and not pushing myself beyond the limit of what's within my control. And that's kind of just been a daily thing for me for the last several months. So I'm going to keep doing that.
Awesome. Thank you. Mercedes, take away homework assignment.
Life is all about balance, and your strengths and weaknesses will always be there. Just make sure you're balancing the two to not tip over.
Awesome. And just a reminder, Friday, bring your favorite business podcast, business content. Bring a story about something, or like you heard a show, you heard an episode, and it changed something for you.
Sean, can we do a contest for our listeners on the podcast feed?
A contest?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm thinking we give them a Cali BBQ restaurant gift certificate.
Yeah.
Only redeemable in San Diego.
Okay.
But that's a fun little thing. If they come to one of the live things and bring someone. So what I want to do is someone who listens only on MP3. I want them to come for the first time and try and bring a guest, and then they can come talk about and join and meet all the people.
Or maybe they could get a Cali BBQ hat if they don't.
Well, no, I'm
trying to.
but I'm trying to keep Sean. I have to go to the post office.
Stephen can go to the post office.
Okay, so they can get a hat. As a good marketer, I was hoping no one would redeem the prize.
My weakness and my kryptonite is going to the post office.
Mine too.
That's why I don't have a Cali BBQ media hat.
What about a Cali bar?
Yes, there you go. There you go. Good. Now we're talking.
We'll work the baby merch.
Your
We'll work
strength is unboxing things that somebody went to the post office to
Correct.
send you.
Hey, how
So
about
you
this?
don't need to worry about the other one.
MP3 listeners,
Sure.
the ones who listen on the podcast feed, we love you and we want to meet you.
Yes. Come on LinkedIn, or just send me a message so that we can show you some love. If you're in San Diego, we will we'll have some barbecue together. How about that? We appreciate you. Well, thank you, everybody. See you Friday. Gavin, Elizabeth, Mike, Stover, Jason, Dean, Laura, Richard, Eric, Colleen, Mercedes, Ash. We see you down below. James, thank you for recording. We appreciate you all. Rising tide lifts all ships. Thank you, guys. We will see you on Friday on LinkedIn, Cali Barbecue Media. Thank you, guys. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks, y'all.
Hey.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.